Good afternoon, guys. Welcome to Michelle's Garden. Today we're going to be cooking Jeff some dinner. We're going to cook him some homemade vegetable soup, and we're going to put him a cherry pie in the oven. Normally I would make him a homemade cherry pie. I would make my own crust and get some pie filling from the grocery store, but today he's getting frozen pie. He'll love it. We're going to do the homemade vegetable soup. I'm going to show you how I cook the meat and put everything in the pot. I don't have my stock pot out here just yet, but I'll go get that in a minute. But we got to get this pie in the oven. Let me show you this pie. There it is. Looks kind of yellow on top. What I did was I cut them pretty little slits in the top there, and then I put a little bit of egg yolk on there, and that's going to give it a little bit of a browning, like a nice tan looking color to the pie. I promise you won't even know it's there when you eat it. So I'm gonna get this in the oven, and then I'll show you all the ingredients to the pie, to the soup. All right, the pie is in the oven, and now we're gonna get ready and make this soup. This is so good. I've been making this soup for years. I do believe my kids always loved it. They always ate it up. It makes quite a bit. You can eat on it for a couple of days, and it's really good to have on a good fall day, you know. So let me show you what's going in here. And this is the first time that I'm going to be making this with some vegetables out of the garden, like potatoes. I've never made this with potatoes out of the garden. I have with the green beans and tomatoes, never with corn. So I have my corn and potatoes this time, and onions also. I'm going to be using onions out of my garden. So first of all, let's season the meat, because I got to get it in the pot, in the pan to cook, and then I'll show you my vegetables. So this is the meat I'm using. You can buy some beef stew meat from the grocery store. You can put hamburger in this. You can put ground turkey in it if you want to. And I just grabbed some seasonings out of the pantry. I got onion powder, garlic powder, pepper. I use some of my seasoning that I throw on steaks. And I got this stuff called kickin' chicken. And I just put a little bit on it, you know. I just like to throw some different things in there. But you throw whatever you want to in there. And then when I cook, I always use bacon grease. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this pan up on high, and I'm just going to sear this meat. Not going to cook it all the way through. You're just going to sear it really good. And then we're going to throw it into the pot. Okay, so the meat's done now, and we're going to get into the ingredients that's going to go into the pot. When I make my videos and there's chopping and stuff involved in vegetables and stuff like that, I always try to pre-do that, you know, like pre-cut everything, so that I'm not wasting time showing you how to cut something. I'm just assuming that if you're in the kitchen wanting to make vegetable soup, you already know how to chop vegetables. So that's why I just go ahead and have everything all ready and just show you what I'm putting in the pot. So let's see what we got here on the counter. So right here we've got some onions out of the garden. I cut those up in chunks and put them in freezer bags. That's how I preserve my onions. These are store-bought carrots. I don't have any garden carrots. I just chopped those. This is the corn that I got out of the garden. I just dropped this into a pot of boiling water for 7 minutes, and then I cut it off the cob and stuck it in freezer bags. So this will go in my vegetable soup. Here's my green beans that we had for dinner just a couple of nights ago, and this was left over, so I'm going to put that in my vegetable soup. Otherwise, this is what they would look like if I was using them. This is a pint jar that I canned. I usually don't do too many pint jars, but this is water bath green beans, water bath canned. This is my tomatoes that I canned that will go in there. I'll use the juice from that. These are my potatoes that I canned. You can see they're a little bit cloudy on the bottom. That's just the starch from the potatoes. I will drain these and wash them off before I put them in the pot. And then this is my dehydrated cherry tomatoes. I put these in my soups and stews, and they will rehydrate, and they're just awesome to use in soups and stews. I will throw in some spices. This is some Italian spice. I'll probably use a tablespoon of that. I'll throw in a little bit of pepper, a little bit of garlic salt and onion salt to taste. And this is a cup of beef stock. This is not homemade beef stock. This is from the store. I don't have any homemade beef stock, otherwise I'd use it. And then I will mince up a garlic clove, just one. And what else here? If I had some homemade tomato juice, I would use that, but I don't. And instead I use one whole bottle of this Campbell's tomato juice. Hopefully next year I will have my own. So I'm gonna put all this in the pot, guys, along with the meat. I'm gonna scoop that out with a spoon with a hole in it because I don't want the meat juice. I'm gonna put all this in the pot, and we'll be right back to see what it looks like. Well, there it is, homemade vegetable soup. We've got our soup in the pot, we've got our pie in the oven, and now I think it's time to walk out to the garden and let me show you guys what all I've got planted so far. I'm gonna let this simmer on the stove for about 4 hours, and then I'll come check it. And what I'm looking for is for the meat to be really tender. When the meat's tender, then that's good enough for me. As far as the canned potatoes, that was the first time that I had ever used canned potatoes. That I canned, not canned from the grocery store. And the consistency of them is sort of like a baked potato. You know, they're already cooked. And so this is going to it's going to simmer for about 4 hours. So I'm not sure how that's going to come out. Normally when I make this soup, I use raw potatoes, raw carrots, and then my canned vegetables will be the green beans and what else? The corn. So it'll be interesting to see how it comes out, where I'm using potatoes that are already cooked to the consistency that it would normally taste when you use a raw potato and the soup is already done. So we'll see how it turns out, but either way, I just know it's going to be good. So what do you say we walk out to the garden for a few minutes? Well, here we are out into the garden. See my butterfly there? I usually try to put a different butterfly on my gate at the beginning of every spring season of growing, and then I take it off the gate in the fall. I was thinking about trying to find a pumpkin, or I like to put some sort of a metal sign or something on the front of my gate. Okay, so what do we got here? Right here is my kale, my dino kale. Now, I planted this whole thing, and that's all that has come up so far. Just a little bit. Same thing over here with my kohlrabi. Just a few of those came up. I'll water these in the evening. I always water them every evening. This is my beets. They looked a lot better when I first put them in the ground. These are the ones that I was telling you that some people say not to start these as seeds in the house, and some people say to direct sow. These have been out here for about, I don't know, 4 or 5 days. They're hanging in there pretty good. I've got some row cover that I'll put over them when it starts to get a little bit cooler in the mornings. There's another one of my beets. This row right here is where my onions are going to go. I have not put them out yet, but I'm going to. I've got some English peas right here, all down this row. I've never grown them before, so I'm not sure how they'll do. Some of these rows I still got to clean up. Check out this huge marigold. I grew that from a seed, and this thing's massive and still putting off. Okay, so we've got this row here is cabbage. I've been watering these every evening. Here's another row of cabbage. And one last row of cabbage. And believe it or not, guys, this stuff's only been out here for, like I said, about four or 5 days. And the bugs have already found it. So I'm going to have to spray these with some neem oil, which is organic. Here's a row of broccoli. You see some of those stalks there was where the corn was at, but they'll pull right out of the ground. This is another row of English peas. And then I had a few beets left that I put right in here. And then I finished off with some more broccoli. This is some leftover basil. It's got to come out before it gets too cold. And the rest of that is broccoli. See my banana tree? That thing's massive. Okay, I'm going to walk over here and show you the cauliflower. There's the cauliflower. And there's one more bed of it over here. This is in the middle of the day, so they kind of look pretty puny looking, but when I water them in the evening, they do perk up. So that's all I've got out here so far. There's some leftover sweet potatoes I need to get out. My plan is to get out here and plant my greens. And what else do I need? I know I want to plant my collard greens, mustard greens, turnip greens, and carrots. And after I get all that in here, and I'll probably do that tomorrow, I think that's pretty much all that I'm going to do for a fall garden. I'm really hoping that it's successful because I just want to have success at a fall garden. I've conquered the spring and summer garden. I want to conquer the fall garden. So I hope you guys have enjoyed the video today, cooking and a little bit of view of the garden. I'm going to end this video with a little bit of video I taped the other day of the front of the house where I have some zinnias that were volunteers that came back from last year from planting there, and some lantanas and my roses. So I hope you've enjoyed it today, and I will see you next time. Everybody have a wonderful day.